Welcome to Resilience Unravelled, featuring scientists, practitioners, experts and everyday people with knowledge, tips, experience and great stories to share to help you get a grip of your life. We'll give you insights into a range of subjects, including reducing your stress, improving your emotional intelligence, health and well-being, and controlling your negative thoughts. By doing this, you'll be able to improve your resilience, confidence, control, and perform better every day to live a more productive and purposeful life. For a free resilience ebook, listen through to the end for details. Here's your host, Dr. Russell Thackeray.
So today I'm talking to Dr. Neil Stanley. I'm very interested to talk to him because he and I are going to talk about one of my favourite subjects in all the world, and that subject is sleep. So, Neil, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So how would you describe to people what it is you do?
What I currently do, I've been doing for probably the last 10 years or so, is I'm an independent sleep expert. So I spend my life travelling the world talking about the importance of sleep to pretty much anybody who'll listen. So that mainly is healthcare professionals, doctors and nurses, but also other interested audiences like schools, charities, or even just the general public. So I a number of years ago realised that you can't change the world. You can only change individuals, and so by becoming independent, it's allowed me to go to places where other sleep experts would, not be able to, or should we say, not be bothered to go to. So, I'm happy standing up in a bed showroom talking about sleep to 10 people on a wet Wednesday afternoon, because if I can change one of those people's mind about the importance of sleep, then I feel that's a job well done.
Mm. And you surprised me because I would be amazed if there was anyone left on the planet who didn't think that sleep was important.
Well, I mean, I think the problem is we all know that sleep's important, but we just don't feel that there's enough of a reason to do it, if you see what I mean. If you think about it, 100 years ago, it was really quite easy to get a good night's sleep. You came home from work, you had your meal, you put the last log on the fire. When it started getting cold, you went to bed. It wasn't difficult. Now we have so much that appears to be better, more interesting, more exciting than a good night's sleep, and we haven't made that connection. There's some research a couple of years ago showing that teenagers are the most aware about the negatives of poor sleep, and yet they're the least likely to change their behaviour. And just the end of last year, the CEO of Netflix said that he wasn't worried about Amazon and people like that. His biggest competitor was a good night's sleep or sleep itself. And so there is this streaming, Facebook, all these things are designed for you to access 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They don't want you not looking at them because that's how they, their business model is selling advertising. So they want you to be consuming. So we live in an era where we have, for the first time, the ubiquity of an excuse to stay awake. When I was growing up in the 70s, your only option was to read under the covers with a torch. TV went off at 11 o'clock, pubs closed at 11 o'clock, late night shopping was 6 o'clock on a Thursday. So you actually had to try to stay awake. Now people feel that, as I say, binge watching the latest show is more exciting than sleep, even though, as you say, people should really know that sleep's important, that it does you good, and to endanger that, you do so at your peril.
So, what am I trying to say? I suppose I'm trying to say, how is sleep good for you? In which ways is it good for you?
Well, sleep's important because basically it's involved in balance, in homeostasis. So everything about the day, from physical activity to mental activity, needs to be held in balance for us to be happy and healthy. And sleep plays a central part in that. It's a time for the body to rest and recuperate, but more importantly, it's a time for the brain to be able to rest and recuperate. It's a time for laying down memories, for dealing with emotions, for learning new behaviours and new thoughts, new words, everything like that. It's the only time we physically grow, and so like anything, if something is in balance, then it is good. If it's imbalanced, as one word, then it is not good. And so poor sleep, on a daily basis will mean the next day you don't do as well at work, your reaction time, your memory is affected, your personal relationships are affected, you'll have more arguments with your partner, you'll be less likely to make up after that argument, you'll lack empathy, you'll look more unattractive and more miserable through lack of sleep. And you'll be at a greater risk of developing an infection. The research has shown that if you have poor sleep, you're 3 times more likely to catch the common cold. Long-term poor sleep's been associated with pretty much every major illness: heart disease, diabetes, depression, obesity, stroke, and even some cancers have been related to poor sleep. So there's no good thing about poor sleep. The problem is that we, as I say, just accept it. It's not one of those things that happens. So, you have a bad night tonight, bad things will happen to you tomorrow. You just won't feel great. The problem is we've somehow accepted not feeling great as our standard.
Right.
Even though we spend a lot of money, taking multivitamins or going to the gym or drinking energy drinks trying to feel better, we still don't do the one thing that could make us feel better each and every night, which is getting a good night's sleep.
So in a way, we should approach being asleep with the sort of vigour and interest that we approach being awake, in terms of maximising the benefits that come from the sleep itself.
Yeah, I mean, when people ask me how to get a good night's sleep or what do you need for a good night's sleep, my answer is always the first thing that you need for a good night's sleep is to see that sleep's important. Because if you don't, then you won't do those behaviours. So, sleep is more important than diet or exercise in terms of good health. And indeed, good sleep supports good diet and good exercise. And so you need to prioritise sleep. People find time and money to go to the gym, to eat healthily. They need to do the same with sleep. And it should be, the third pillar or the third part of the well-being triangle: good diet, good exercise, good sleep.
Yeah, it's staggering that it's not when you think about it, isn't it?
Well, the problem with sleep is there's no money to be made in it. I mean, lots of people are trying their best to, but the thing is, I mean, who owns sleep? It's not something that anybody can own as a concept. We all know companies that are in the diet industry. We all know companies in the wellness industry. We can all name our local gym. But within terms of sleep, who does it fall to push the message of good sleep?
I suppose
the
bed companies must be the obvious places, and I'm guessing that a good night's sleep starts with a decent bed, is it?
Well, I mean, you would hope so, but the bed companies, none of them are that big in terms of global firepower, in terms of none of them have the resources of a company like Weight Watchers. So that's the issue. That in Britain alone, I think there's something like 100 or so bed manufacturers. I mean, some of them are slightly big, but the vast majority is sort of one man in a shed type thing. So there isn't really that. There's no easy way of shall we say, making money. You say the bed industry, but their advantage don't buy a bed for another 10 years.
Yeah, true.
So there isn't really that marketing, that sort of it's not really been made sexy. If you look in a celebrity magazine, you'll see every celebrity talking about their diet and their gym, and the name of their instructor, the name of the brand of clothing they wear. But nobody says anything important about the positives of sleep. No celebrity really sort of endorses the idea of good sleep.
It's funny, isn't it? The more you're talking about it, the more you're opening my mind to that. Because you're right. You make an assumption that sleep's, I suppose, so ordinary and so natural that you don't really need to spend much time thinking about it. There is the problem. Because actually, what you say, because you don't ascribe importance to it, then we don't take care of it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the whole bed in a box revolution that's taking now, that you can order a bed online, a one size fit all bed that is delivered to your doorstep, and this is somehow good, because buying a bed is such a terribly complex process according to these companies. Well, you go to a car showroom and you want the car salesman to talk to you about the car, and you want to test drive the car. You go to a hi-fi showroom, you want the shop assistant to tell you about the differences between hi-fis, and you'll go to the room and listen to your hi-fi so you understand how it works. So why is somehow a bed different? It's like it is so ordinary. It is such a dull purchase in people's minds that they can literally buy a cheap one-size-fits-all solution to something they're going to spend a third of their life in. Yeah. This is what I said earlier about not according it the importance. You're going to spend more time asleep in bed than you will spend in any one other place in your life. And yet it's the thing that we give least thought to, unfortunately.
I mean, do we actually need a bed? Because I'm guessing for the majority of our existence, we've not really had the idea of a bed. We tend to sleep on floors or mattresses or something.
We have the oldest known bed is 90,000 years old. It was found in a cave in South Africa.
Wow!
And it would appear to have been some sort of sack stuffed with grasses and herbs to keep the bugs away. But certainly, as long as we've had bedrooms, the poor people have slept on beds as long as we've had bedrooms, which is about 500 years. The rich have always had beds. I mean, there are beds in Egypt and that. So the rich people have had beds. The poor people had a sack on the floor. The ideal thing about a sack on the floor was you could adjust the tension perfectly well. You could stuff it thicker or thinner. You could put fragrant herbs in to keep your bed bugs and your other nasty bitey insects away. So they are the ideal customizable beds.
Yes. And so when you're looking for a bed and you want to take a bit of time, because that's a good place to start, what sort of things should we look out for? Is it really just about trying them and seeing if they're comfortable?
Absolutely. Science can't measure comfortable. It's not a scientific criteria. So you need to find a bed that is comfortable for you. Basically, that means when you're on your side, your spine is straight. When you're on the back, it preserves the slight curve of the spine that you have when you stand up. And you should think of it as comfortable. And then you should lay on the bed for 20 minutes, turning into all the positions that you can imagine. And see if you can do that easily and comfortably. And it can only be, personal choice. The specifications of a mattress and even the price of a mattress doesn't tell you anything about the comfort. You have to get on the bed.
Okay, and I'm thinking, I googled a bunch of sleeping myths the other day, and I was, in preparation for our chat, and one of the things that comes to top of the pile is, how long should people sleep for? And there's this idea that everybody should sleep for 7 hours a night.
The thing with sleep is that it's genetically determined and it's individual. So it's like height. We're all different. So just as you have short sleepers and long sleepers, you have short people and tall people. And in the same way as height, there's not a lot you can do about it. I mean, I'm 2 meters tall, which I love, except for when I fly economy class, and I hate it. But I can stand at the airport wishing as much as I can to be shorter, and it doesn't happen. And the same with sleep. The important thing about sleep is for you to get the number of hours sleep that you need as an individual. That can be anywhere between about 4 and 11 hours. So if you're a 4-hour night person, you need to get 4 hours a night. If you're an 11-hour night person, you need to get 11 hours a night to feel at your best. And you need to do that every night. So it's about getting that sleep you need. And essentially, the sleep you need is the sleep that allows you to wake up and feel refreshed, awake and alert during the day. If you feel awake, alert, focused during the day, essentially you've had enough sleep. If you feel sleepy during the day, you almost certainly haven't had enough sleep.
And are there good routines that people can learn to help themselves get to sleep? Because, I mean, we're particularly in our world interested in this idea that you optimize your brain. And one of the best ways to optimize your brain for the day so you can manage your emotions and thoughts is that you get a good night's sleep. And a lot of people say there's a sort of self-defeating circle here, that if you're anxious, you worry, you tend not to sleep so well, and that makes you more and more anxious. So is there a way of being able to develop a routine that helps people?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you're quite right. The biggest enemy of sleep is worry, stress, anxiety. You cannot sleep if you don't have a quiet mind. So you need to quieten the mind before you go to sleep. You need to put the day to one side. So, don't open the gas bill just before you go to bed. Don't have an argument with your partner. Don't think about how you're going to pay the mortgage. Don't think about work. Don't text your boss late at night. It doesn't impress anybody. And so switch off. Do something relaxing. Now, I can't tell you how to relax. I mean, relaxation is individual, but you need to do something, whether that's drinking hot milky drink, meditation, mindfulness, those adult colouring in books, or listening to Pink Floyd really loudly. It doesn't really matter what you do, as long as you do something which is not work, not stressful. And I think the problem is that most people don't. Most people's bedtime routine is to switch the TV off, have a pee, brush their teeth and flop into bed, and not take that time. And this is a problem, because the minute you get into bed, it's dark, it's quiet, your mind is able to fixate on the internal, the worry, the stresses, the anxieties, and you will just play them over. And the minute you start doing that, you're banishing sleep. So you need to do something for about 45 minutes before bed. You need to do something nice, quiet, relaxing, but that's down to you as an individual to find out what that may be.
And I've heard many people, a lot of people advocate reading and listening to radio or podcasts or something, but a lot of people have said that you must avoid the blue light. This idea of actually it's a great idea to go on Facebook or on your iPad or any other device for the 30 minutes before you go to sleep, because that's the sort of worst thing you can do, really, isn't it?
It is, and the blue light story has become really sort of quite current. However, the issue is that even before we knew about blue light, we knew about the problem with screens. That by watching TV, or which it was in those days, that would be cognitively arousing you. So we've always had the prohibition against screens in the bedroom. The issue with the blue light is the wavelength of light that simulates sunlight, and that therefore tells the brain that you're awake. So all the time you're looking at screens that are rich in blue light, that's suppressing melatonin, the messenger that the brain sends out saying, it's time to go to sleep, and starts the cascade of events that allow you to fall asleep. Now, a lot of apps and software now have the ability to filter out the blue light, but there was very recent research that shows even if you do strip out the blue light, that actually makes no difference to the disruptive effects of screens. And so that paper actually suggested you should avoid screens for 2 hours before bed, which I think is, whilst that may be scientifically valid, I think that's impossible advice to give. I think 30 minutes is probably something that people may be willing to do. The problem, of course, and it's a very simple problem, the vast majority of people these days don't actually own an alarm clock. They use their mobile phones.
Right.
And so they actually put their mobile phone right next to the bed, and so they find it difficult to resist the temptation. And then, of course, you've got all these sleep apps that actually run on a phone. So you actually have to interact with the phone to set up your sleep app. And that seems to be rather a negative design feature of these devices.
Interesting. And I guess one of the problems, especially if you're anxious, that happens to many people is this idea that they wake up during the night and then they can't get back to sleep again. Is there any advice and guidance that sort of tends to work there?
Yeah, I mean the advice for waking up in the middle of the night is to not remain in bed. If you've woken up for 20 minutes in the middle of the night and you can't fall back to sleep, then get up, go to another room and do something else, relaxing until you feel sleepy again, and then go back to bed. Because all the time that you're lying in bed, you're getting ever more frustrated, you're getting ever more anxious about not falling back to sleep, and you're catastrophizing as to how bad your day's going to be because you've not fallen back to sleep, and therefore you'll definitely not fall back to sleep. So it's counterproductive. So to break that cycle, I mean, for many people it's almost enough just to get up and go to the bathroom and have a pee, whether you need to or not. Even that is enough to break that cycle of worries. But just lying in a dark, quiet room, you will, as I say, fixate on that internal narrative, and that may not be beneficial for your sleep or for getting back to sleep.
What causes people to wake up during the middle of the night? Is it? I mean, at some level, at a physical level, if you need to go to the toilet, I guess your body triggers you start to wake up. But otherwise, why might you suddenly wake up?
Probably the most important reason is your bed partner. I published a paper back in 2005 from the University of Surrey with the sociology department that shows that a good proportion of your sleep disturbance is caused by your bed partner. So their movements or the noises they make during the night may significantly impact on your sleep. I mean, if you think about it, the World Health Organization says that to get a good night's sleep, your bedroom should be no louder than 35 decibels with a few intermittent peaks, whereas a snorer is going to be sort of 85 decibels. So, if your partner snores, or if they move, or if they do something else during the night, that's probably going to be the biggest cause of you waking up. And of course, that doesn't help because they're blissfully asleep, snoring away, and you're awake thinking that they're just doing that to annoy you. And that, again, sort of causes that catastrophization and doesn't help the marital harmony when you start thinking about that by your partner. So, getting up to go to the bathroom or your partner probably accounts for, probably about 80% of the awakenings. Noises in the environment, those sorts of things.
I've heard a number of people arguing the merits or demerits of this sort of during the day catnap as well. I wonder what your view is on those. This idea that you can just sort of exist on 20 minutes, or that if you're feeling tired, that it's okay to drop, to have a quick 20-minute kip. Have you any views on that?
Yeah, I mean, napping is beneficial. I mean, I back in the 80s was doing work on napping for the Royal Air Force to how to cope with shift work and also in flight, because if you've got to work overnight, you've got to pull a 24-hour shift. You then have to, get through that, and a 20-minute nap is vastly more effective in helping you do that than having, a couple of cups of coffee or whatever. And the same's true during the day. If you feel sleepy during the day, then a 20-minute nap will boost your performance by, approximately 20% for, an hour or so. So yes, if you are sleepy and you are one of these types of people who can nap, I mean, personally, I can't nap for the life of me, but some people can disengage from the world and easily nap, then a 20-minute nap is much better than drinking, black coffee or having a couple of caffeine pills or functional energy drinks. But however, the question you then must ask yourself is, why do you need to nap during the day? If you've had enough sleep during the night, you won't need to nap during the day. And so, a lot of people argue that, your employer should allow you to nap during the day. But why should he allow you to do that if the reason why you need to nap is that you've been up all night watching the telly?
Yes.
You wouldn't go to work and say, you need to give me, aspirin for my hangover. It's your responsibility. If you want me to work well, you have to treat my hangover. No company on earth would, agree to that. So why would an employer agree to allow you to not turn up well rested and to give you the antidote? And the other thing, I mean, all these companies who provide the ability to nap, that just makes it actually more normal for you to spend longer hours at work.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you're doing is you're appearing friendly, but however, it's a slight con, to be honest. I mean, there is one major software company that we all know that you're never more than 200 feet away from free food at their HQ. And you might think, oh, isn't that lovely? But it just means you never have to leave your desk to get food. You never have to leave the office. As they always say, there's no such thing as a free lunch. So the idea that you can, a company can work you stupid hours and allow you to have a nap because of that doesn't seem to be the nicest thing to do.
Yes. So it makes sense if you're needing, because I would have almost thought that if you need to nap during the day, then you take a nap. That's going to affect your sleep at night, which is going to lead again to this sort of this vicious circle or cycle almost.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with napping is that this is why it's a 20-minute nap. A 20-minute nap should allow you to get some of the benefits of a nap without actually being sufficiently long to disturb your sleep at night. Sleeping or having a 2-hour nap during the day will almost certainly diminish your sleep at night. So the quick power nap is fine. Anything longer than 20 minutes is really a no-no.
This is absolutely fascinating. I could talk to you all day about this because someone has post-sleep themselves. I'm finding it really interesting. However, I know that you're going to write a book to distill a lot of this knowledge. And that's coming out back end of July 2018. So tell me a bit about that.
Well, I mean, the book is called How to Sleep Well, and it's coming out on the 27th of July 2018. It's published by Wiley Capstan. And essentially, it's the distillation of my 36 years' experience in the sleep field. So it discusses the importance of sleep, but it's really based on the sort of common sense premise. So it's not going to promise you miracles or magic. It's going to promise you that if you just make a small change in thinking about getting a better night's sleep tonight, then you will feel better tomorrow. And if you get a better night's sleep tomorrow night, you will feel better the next day. And so it's not a doom and gloom book. It's not we're all going to die if we don't sleep well, because that frankly isn't true. It's about living your life happier, healthier, more productively, because you've given sleep a bit more importance in your life, and you want to make just a small change, or the small changes needed to get better sleep. So the thing is, most people don't have insomnia. Most people, to be honest, don't really have a problem with their sleep. They just can't be bothered.
Yeah.
And as I say, we spend time and money on trying to feel happy and healthy, and we'll go to the gym for an hour a day, and we see the point of that. But as I say, it's that gratification. So it's not, if you sleep well, you'll reduce a very small statistical risk of developing heart disease by a slight amount, because that's not a motivator. The fact is, if you get a good night's sleep tonight, you will be happier, healthier, you'll be a nicer person, people will like you more, they'll actually think you're more attractive, you'll do better at your job just by getting a good night's sleep. And that's got to be a good thing, if you see it that way. So that's the premise of the book. It's not trying to scare you, it's not trying to berate you, it's just saying, come on, you know how good a good night's sleep is, and how good it makes you feel, and you know how bad you feel after a bad night's sleep. So why do you keep getting a bad night's sleep? What's in it for you having a bad night's sleep, if all that means is you're chatting to your imaginary friends on Facebook and watching funny cat videos? That's not a good enough reason to forgo something which is so good for you, and let's be honest, one of our greatest pleasures.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I started by saying I'm a great fan of sleep, and I've been a fan all my life, and I've recognised the benefits. And you're absolutely right. You know when you've had a bad night's sleep, you tend to eat badly the next day, and you tend to do things which are less healthy for you. So it's almost like the trigger, isn't it, that aligns everything else, rather than being something that you just leave to chance.
Yeah, I mean, and this is it. People nowadays see sleep as the thing you have to do at the end of the day because it's unavoidable, rather than something that you should do because it's good. And as I say, other things like diet or exercise have been made to be sexy and to be aspirational and to be good. If I were to say to you, I eat my 5 a day fruit and vegetables, or I run 5 miles a day, you'd go, well done, good for you. Yeah. If I say I go to bed at 9 o'clock and sleep for 9 hours, you go, you're a sad person with no friends.
Yeah.
But to me, that's what I need to do to feel at my best. And if I don't do that, it doesn't matter if I try to eat healthily or I try to exercise. But sleep is seen as laziness. It's seen as a waste of time, whereas other things seem to have a virtuousness about them, whereas sleep isn't accorded that virtue. It's not seen as a good thing that you want to go to sleep or to prioritise your sleep.
Well, there's no sort of effort involved, is there? I mean, the virtuousness of effort, which is the decision fatigue coming from resisting food, or the upside of the supposed upside of exercises. There's no real effort involved in sleep.
Absolutely,
I love that idea of I go to bed at 9 o'clock and I've had a good night's sleep, and people just say to you, well, I can do it in 4 hours, and you get that sort of macho competition, don't you, about who can exist on the least night's sleep.
Yeah, I mean that's it. This whole thing. Whenever sleep is talked about, there's always this. And Margaret Thatcher only slept 4 hours a night. Well, one, there was no evidence of this, and two, when Charles Moore wrote her biography, he actually said that this was just a rumor put around because she didn't wish to appear weak. She had an all-male cabinet, and she couldn't, as a woman, appear weak and needing sleep. And this is. there's been a renaissance of this idea of sleep being a good thing, but you still get these stories on the internet about, the CEO of this or that company only sleeps for 4 hours. And you think, well, yeah, so how is this a good thing to be promoting rather than, getting that good night's sleep? And the other thing, if you relate it to diet and exercise, or, if your partner, say, was a vegetarian, they wouldn't expect you to, be a vegetarian. If your partner wants to go to the gym, they wouldn't insist that you go to the gym with them. And yet with our sleep, we are sort of we're beholden to our partners. It's thought of as correct that we both go to sleep at the same time, even though that's actually a time that doesn't suit either of us. So we don't think rationally about our sleep, and we don't discuss it in our relationship. So it's the one part of your life that you never speak to your partner about. Well, you do. You shout at them for ruining your life because they were snoring all night. But you never talk about your wants, your needs, your expectations of sleep, when you want to go to bed, when, what the etiquette is if you need to go to the bathroom at night, who's setting what alarm. It's not done like that. People just, say, judge each other, say nasty things about sleep, and never really logically think about their sleep.
Yeah. Neil, that's been fantastic. Thank you so much for your input today. It's been brilliant. I've really enjoyed it. Just remind me the name of that book again.
The book is called How to Sleep Well, and it's out on the 27th of July 2018.
Well, I hope people flock to it. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.
You take care.
We hope you found today's podcast useful. If you did, why not subscribe and listen to our other podcasts? We would love it if you could leave us a review. To access our resilience coaching, contact us at info@qedod.com. And finally, if you'd like to download our free resilience ebook, go to qedod.com/free ebook. Thanks for listening.